Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Metastatic Breast Cancer podcast for April 2022, where our theme for this month is on creating happiness. We have been journeying through Thich Nhat Hanh's book, No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering, and we will be continuing to work on themes from this book for the coming months. The focus of April, as we progress from nurturing happiness into another one of Thich Nhat Hanh's 5 practices of creating happiness. And what he says is, we know how to nourish happiness with mindfulness. We get in touch with the wonderful elements of life in us and around us. We don't need to run around, he says. We don't have to go looking into the future, which we've spoken about in previous months, as the conditions for happiness are already right here, right now, in front of us. With mindfulness, we can discover the fact that the conditions of happiness we already have are sufficient. Really much more than sufficient. And happiness is possible right now. When we walk, it can be a celebration. When you breathe with awareness, it's something to celebrate. When we sit like that, we are celebrating. We're celebrating life. Just as we may have many small sorrows that mindfulness can help us release, we also have a multitude of small moments of happiness that we can savor and extend. Whether you drink a cup of tea, or take a walk, or just sit down and look, you can create happiness during that time. People complain that they don't have any happiness in life. We need to find the many small joys that life has to offer and help them grow. There are many talented people with diplomas, degrees, and long titles. There are people who can invent revolutionary new machines and computer applications. We may like to ask them, can you create a moment of happiness? If you know how to do this, you can create something truly beneficial. To make a soup, we need some water, some vegetables, some tofu, a little of this, and a little of that. You can make a good soup with just a few simple ingredients. Nothing fancy is needed. A small portion of happiness is a kind of soup with a few ingredients, an open mind, and a little resourcefulness. We can make a moment of happiness for ourselves and for the person next to us. We can offer some of our tasty soup to someone else. If we know how to create a moment of happiness, we get to enjoy that happiness ourselves, and we can also double it by sharing it with another person. That is the art of happiness, tasting and delighting in the little happinesses of daily life. So what I want you all to do now is just to take a moment to think of things, and if you're able to, you can get a journal or a piece of paper, or you can just bring these to the forefront of your mind, of all of the conditions for happiness that are available to you right now. So I want you either to write this down or just to bring it to the forefront of your mind and just think about all of the conditions right now in your life that are available to you to create happiness. Now, these things can be large or small. We can take a moment simply to be grateful for our breath in our body. So whatever these are, just spend a few moments thinking about them. And if you have a paper and a pen, journaling them. And when we recognize all these elements, it's easy to generate happiness. So whatever you have thought about, If you're not able to journal that now, I invite you to journal that at some point throughout this day, just so you can always have that piece of paper with you to refer to remember the conditions that are available to you right now in this moment to create happiness. So Thich Nhat Hanh goes on to talk about how important concentration is as a practice for creating happiness. And in yoga philosophy, we actually have dharana, which is concentration, as the precursor to dhyana, meditation. We cannot get into a deep state of meditation without mastering the art of concentration. Concentration is always concentrating on something. When we have concentration, we have a lot of energy. We won't get carried away by visions of past suffering or fears about the future. We dwell stably in the present moment so we can get in touch with the wonders of life and generate joy and happiness. If you're able to focus on your breathing in a relaxed way, you are already cultivating an inner strength. When you come back to feel your breath, concentrate on your breathing with all your heart and mind. Concentration is not hard labor. You don't have to strain yourself or make a huge effort. Happiness can arise lightly and easily. Then Thich Nhat Hanh moves on to talk about the practice of insight. With mindfulness, we recognize the tension in our body, and we want very much to release it. But sometimes, as you all know as metastatic breast cancer patients, you can't. So what we need in these instances is insight. Insight is seeing what is there. It is the clarity that can liberate us from afflictions such as jealousy or anger and allow true happiness to come. Every one of us has insight, though we don't always make use of it to increase our happiness. We may know, for example, that something, a craving or a grudge, is an obstacle for our happiness, that it brings us anxiety and fear. We know this thing is not worth the sleep we're losing over it, but still we go on spending our time and energy obsessing about it. We're like a fish who has been caught once before and knows there's a hook inside the bait. If the fish makes use of that insight, he won't bite because he knows he'll get caught by the hook. Often we just bite onto our craving or grudge and let the hook take us. We get caught and attached to these situations that are not worthy of our concern. If mindfulness and concentration are there, then insight will be there and we can make use of it to swim away free. In springtime, when there is a lot of pollen in the air, some of us have a hard time breathing due to allergies. Even when we aren't trying to run 5 miles and we just want to sit or lie down, we can't breathe very well. So in wintertime, when there's no pollen, instead of complaining about the cold, we can remember how in April or May we couldn't go out at all. This is obviously going to be more relevant to those of you that have allergies, which many people do. Now our lungs are clear in winter. We can take a brisk walk outside or sit outside and we can breathe very well. We consciously call up our experience of the past to help ourselves treasure the good things we are having right now. In the past, we probably did suffer from one thing or another. It may even have felt like a kind of hell. If we remember that suffering, not letting ourselves get carried away by it, we can use it to remind ourselves how lucky I am right now and to focus on creating happiness with whatever our current situation or circumstance is. How lucky I am right now. I'm not in that situation. I can be happy. That is insight. And in that moment, our joy and our happiness can grow very quickly. So insight is key, concentration is key in order for us to nourish the creation of happiness within. So now I want to share with you all a practice for April that I invite you all to do each morning. And Thich Nhat Hanh calls this the morning verse for happiness. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thing to do is to breathe and to become aware that you have 24 brand new hours to live. This is a gift of life. Thich Nhat Hanh shares that after he was ordained as a novice monk, he had to memorize many short verses to help him practice mindfulness. And one of the first verses that he shares with us is the following. Waking up this morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. I vow to live them deeply and learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. Waking up this morning, I smile. I have 24 hours to live. I vow to live them deeply and learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. So there are 4 lines, and the first line is for your in-breath. The second line is for your out-breath. The third line is for your in-breath again, and the fourth line is for your out-breath. So as you breathe in, inhaling and exhaling, you use each verse to focus your attention on the meaning of the words. You want to live the 24 hours that are given to you each day in such a way that peace, joy, and happiness are possible. You're determined not to waste your 24 hours because you know those 24 hours are a gift of life, and you receive that gift every morning. That is mindfulness. There are more than 50 such verses that a new monk or nun has to memorize and practice throughout the day. When they brush their teeth, they silently recite a verse. When they are going about through their day, there is a verse to practice. The practice of mindfulness means to be aware of everything you do in your daily life, to live more deeply every moment that is given you to live, so you won't waste your time and waste your life. And for all of you as thrivers, every moment of your life is extremely precious. So I'm going to repeat this practice now, guiding you through the inhale and the exhale. So wherever you are, just come to a comfortable seat and just take a moment to arrive into the physical body. And perhaps it may feel good to place the right hand on the abdomen, left hand on the heart space. And as you inhale, I want you to silently repeat to yourself, waking up this morning, I smile. Now, as you exhale, I want you to silently repeat to yourself, I have 24 hours to live today. As you inhale, I vow to live them deeply. And as you exhale and learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. So we'll do that one more time. As you inhale, waking up this morning, I smile. As you exhale, I have 24 hours to live. As you inhale, I vow to live them deeply. And as you exhale and learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. So one more time. As you inhale, waking up this morning, I smile. As you exhale, I have 24 hours to live today. As you exhale, I vow to live them deeply and learn to look at the beings around me with the eyes of compassion. And just allow those intentions to be absorbed into the mind. reiterating your determination to not waste your 24 hours in each day, because you know that these 24 hours are a gift of life, and you receive that gift every morning. And this is the practice of mindfulness. I hope that you will all join us for our April Metastatic Breast Cancer group, where we will be able to come together in community and discuss these intentions. I will lead a live practice and be able to come together in virtual community, which we really need now more than ever. I wish you a safe, healthy, and blessed month ahead.